Well, good morning, IAY families. It's now Monday, March 30th. This is the 10th day that we've been out of school. And I wanted to get a hold of everybody and just give you some information that's available to me and bring you up to date on some things. I had a teacher ask me this morning about students that don't have internet or Wi-Fi and are able to see the lessons on YouTube or communicate with the school. And I just want to point out to everybody that Spectrum stepped up and they're offering free connectivity for students who don't have it. So get a hold of Spectrum if you don't have internet and see what they can do to help you out to get connected. It's become pretty much a lifeline for us to get instruction and information out to you folks. Also, the federal government has extended the social distancing and federal guidelines until April 30th. Now, I'm going to imagine that the state's going to follow along as well with that timeline. So it's a pretty good bet that we won't be coming back to school any earlier than May if we come back at all. Also, the stimulus act was set into place, and for those folks, you're going to be receiving that stimulus money here probably within the next 3 weeks if you're able to get electronic deposits. And anybody making less than $99,000 a year, you can look forward to adults receiving $1,200 each, and any children that you have will be receiving $500 each. And I'm sure, as I'm imagining many people are beginning to struggle, that will be a welcome relief. I'm also going to begin to put up more YouTube lessons. I've been focusing mostly on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and mostly on math, occasionally reading a story to the kindergartners and 1st graders. But I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and try and put up some supplemental lessons for all of the different grade levels. And I'll primarily be teaching math and language arts supplemental lessons for you. So look for that coming up this week. And again, we are broadcasting to you on YouTube, and by going to the YouTube webpage and searching IAY School, it should bring me right up, and you should be able to click on any of those lessons. And you can go through all the lessons. Sorry about that. I keep my phones nearby because I never know who's going to call me. But, gee, I lost my train of thought. Anyhow, I'll be putting up more lessons, and mostly in math and language arts, to help supplement some of the work. And I'm sure you know by now how hard the teachers are working to keep the kids engaged in learning. Our country right now is clearly moving into one of the periods of time as this virus makes its way through the population, where it's becoming more and more apparent that we need to remain vigilant and conscious of the fact that we're going to see more and more cases start to pop up. Testing is improving. There's a lot of things that are happening now as we go into this period over probably the next couple of weeks that are going to be, I think, real critical and real pivotal to how we pop out of the other end of this thing. Watching the television this morning, there was a couple of things that caught my eye, but one in particular that, well, I guess what I'm going to give you here is just a little brief history lesson. And I'm going to take you back to January 20th, 1961. And on that day, our newly elected president, John F. Kennedy, was being sworn into office. I was 11 years old. I remember watching it, and I remember hearing the last thing he said and how it made an imprint on my mind. And all these years, it's always been something that kind of floats around in my head. And what he said as he completed his address to the nation was, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And in 1961, it was a very tumultuous time in the history of the United States. We were engaged in a war in Southeast Asia that was not a popular war. There was a lot of change occurring in the social fabric of this country. And I was there and I lived through it all, and I was part of it. But those words, well, here's why they popped into my mind this morning. Because as I was watching television and the news reports, they were reporting that Amazon, some company that delivers groceries, that the employees were going to shut down and go on strike. And I just kind of sat there and I thought to myself, what if, because the job is difficult and because we have concerns about this infection, what if the police department, the fire department, paramedics, doctors, nurses, healthcare workers everywhere, what if everyone just said, you know, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't feel safe. You know, ask not what your country can do for you. Those words immediately popped into my conscious thought. And I worry when I see news reports like that, because another thing that was said throughout their broadcast this morning was a bunch of artists, musicians got together and gave a free concert. They raised $1 million to help benefit a number of good causes. And one of the artists made the comment, if you can't do what you can do what you can. And those words just rang profound in my thoughts. Because, you know, we're all restricted. I come here every day, I sit in this cold building in front of this camera. Then I go home, and then I stay at home. And the next day I get up, I come back to school, and I sit in front of this camera, doing what I have to do as part of helping everyone, especially our students and teachers, get through this thing. It never once occurred to me that I should stop doing this just because I don't particularly feel like it's a risk. you know, anyhow, I don't want to labor on that, but I want to leave you with that thought that it's a time when people are doing some really amazing things. And I remember George Bush uh, in one of his speeches asking that we become a kinder, gentler world. And maybe one of the best things that might come out of this whole thing is that we actually do become a kinder, gentler world. At least it's good to know that most people are becoming kinder and gentler, and they're reaching out in ways that we never even imagined to try and help other people. Back in the 1960s, another notion that kind of floated around in my consciousness was because the war in Vietnam was such an unpopular war, and there was so much protest going on, and I remember reading once that a comment that somebody made, well, what if they had a war and nobody came? We're going to have a war and nobody shows up. That'd be a great war, wouldn't it? Well, we're fighting a war right now, literally, against an enemy that you can't see, you can't hear, you don't know where it's at. It could be anywhere. And as we get deeper and deeper into the spread of this virus, we really need to stay conscious of the fact that we can't hide from this war. And there's lots of things that we can be doing. The main thing is stay at home. Don't go out if you don't have to. The things that are really essential are very few. So we don't need to be running out into the public and coming in contact with people. And more people are going to be even unaware that they may have the virus. And it so easily and so swiftly can spread through a population. So this is a war we don't want to stay at home and ignore. This is a war we want to knock the legs out from under by staying home and being conscious of the difference that can make. Slowing down the upsurge of people becoming sick is a really important aspect of what they're trying to do all over the country. So think about how many unnecessary trips you make and try to eliminate those. If you need groceries, make a list. Make sure you don't forget something that you have to go back out again 2 or 3 times to remember picking up something that you forgot to get. And try to avoid as much person-to-person contact as possible right now, especially over the next couple of weeks as we get through the surge of this spread. Kids, everybody contributes one way or another. And for the students, your job, and you really do have a really important job here. Even though you might think that this is great, you don't have to go to school, you don't have to listen to Mr. Fike telling you to knock it off. Continuing to keep your minds active, engaging in these lessons that we're sharing with you is really important because you want to keep learning. I mean, when you think about it, the next time there's a crisis, you may be the adults, you may be the ones that have to be leading the battle. So don't stop learning just because we're not in school. Spend some time. Look at the lessons. If you have a math problem that you can't solve, spend some effort and figure it out. Learn how to teach yourself. Find the resources that can help you. You also have a responsibility to your families to not be wasteful, to not add to anyone's burden. Be helpful. Ask what you can do around the house to help. Don't waste things. Don't waste food, because these are important things. So you have some pretty big responsibilities too. A lot of businesses are really suffering and struggling right now because they've either had to close down or their business is diminished so much that it's becoming impossible to continue to operate. And within the IAWay family, there are a lot of business people. There are a lot of people running their own businesses. And so let me just appeal to everyone that if you do need something, whatever it might be, if somebody within our family can provide that, then seek them out. Help them contribute to their businesses as much as you can. And then just one last thing before I sign off here this morning is we still need to get applications in for next school year. And there's a number of applications that were not completed, are missing documents like the proof of address, where a bill statement from the gas or the electric company that has the payment stub still attached to it. They want to see the address on those two separate parts of the bill to verify your address. Either W-2s or your 1040 tax form, or at least 4 weeks worth of pay stubs. You got to have those things because this year is going to be so crazy for them. I'm sure that if it goes in incomplete, it will be rejected. We must have those documents in place. Now, to avoid person-to-person contact, the front door of this building, the one that faces on Avondale, there's a mail slot. Great big mail slot. You can even drop the whole application envelope in there or any supporting documents. Just stick it in an envelope and stick it in there, and I'll check periodically to see if anything's come in. But that's about it for here, for me now. I hope everybody is safe and healthy, and I wish everyone the best. So I'll be getting back to you with some more lessons as we continue on through the rest of this period of time that we'll be out of school. So have a good day, stay safe, take care.